Hey, what's up everyone? Dennis here, EDC for Fun. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we're taking a look at this really cool little knife from Tuya. So as you can see, this one's marked number 58 of 107, and there were about 300 total of the Tuya Mutts produced, and there's 107 of this color, which is the green and yellow carbon fiber. There's also a green carbon fiber and a red, white, and blue carbon fiber. So this is not my knife, by the way. This is on loan, coming to me from the Lefty EDC pass around group. So thanks to Lefty and those guys for making this happen. And I've been fortunate enough to carry this guy and share with you my thoughts on it. It did come in this cool case. So a hard case with these latches. And we've got a card here for Dave Warren from, there we go, from Tuya. And foam insert there. So that was pretty cool that it comes in this case. The knife cost $249, so getting a case like that with a knife in this price range is always welcome. Definitely appreciate that. So this is a design collaboration between Tuya's Dave Warren and Colin Mason Pierre. You can see down there CM marked on the blade, DW there, and there's also an S, the 90V marking there. We'll talk about the blade a little bit later. But like I said, CM collaboration. Colin Mason Pierre is one of my favorite designers. He is the designer who brought us the Devo Buzz, as well as the Kubi Royal, and many, many others. These are two that I happen to have handy. I'm also actually carrying today the Devo Stout, which is another collaboration between Lefty and Colin Mason Pierre. So one of my favorite designers. I really love the aesthetic that he does. The design language he uses just really speaks to me. It's definitely my style, and he certainly has a range of other models too that don't exactly look like this. The Stout, I think, is evidence of that. But there are many others besides these. As far as the aesthetic and the design goes, this is a really, really handsome knife. It's finished well, it's got really nice materials, and overall just has a very pleasant feel and look to it. It is a little bit on the small side, if I'm being honest. Its overall length is just right around 7 inches. The blade length is under 3 inches, just a little bit under 3 inches there. The one thing that kind of gets me is the inner grip. So from this point here to this point here is right around 3 inches. I prefer an inner grip of about 3.5 inches. Basically, if you're looking at the cross section of, your palm there, mine, depending on where you measure it, but mine is right around 3.5 inches. So what that means is when I grab this guy, my pinky does hang off a little bit, especially with this little protrusion here, because I naturally kind of want to get my index finger on one side and my middle finger on the other. And when it does that, I'm definitely hanging off. But that being said, the way this is finished with all the corners having contours and rounded edges and everything, it's not uncomfortable. And this is kind of a more gentleman style knife in my opinion. So if I bought this, I wouldn't plan on really thrashing it. That doesn't mean I wouldn't use it. You guys know me, I love to use my knives, but this is not what I would consider a hard use knife. But I think it probably could stand up to some hard use tasks, considering the materials and the construction, because the materials are top notch: titanium, S90V, carbon fiber, and the construction is very, very good. The way this is put together, it is absolutely solid in hand. The lockup is solid, no side to side, no up and down. We've got no detent lash. We've got a little bit of pivot lash, but it's very, very minimal. But that doesn't affect when the knife is open or when the knife is closed. And speaking of opening and closing, this knife is absolutely a dream. The detent is on what I would consider to be the firmer side. See, see that guy get sucked in there? And to pull it out, to break that detent, does take a little bit of effort. It really can't be shaken out. I mean, if I come off camera and just freaking, oh, I can't even do it. I was gonna say freaking whip that thing. It would, come out, but the detent, like I said, on the firmer side stays tucked away in there nicely. And what that means, when you break the detent, this guy just flies out of there. So whether you're using the flipper tab or the opening hole, it is very crisp, very satisfying to deploy this guy. Rockets out, no problem. I don't think I've had it fail at all. You could probably fail it, but like I said, with that crisp detent, that's me just pushing on it. It's not really failing. With a crisp detent like that, deployment is a breeze. Just works very, very nicely. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this guy tucked away in there, dead nut center. And the fit and finish, like I said, is just really, really good. You can see this milled titanium pocket clip, which looks really good and works really well. Got great tension. In and out of the pocket is a dream. You've got these carbon fiber inlays. I'll talk a little bit more about those in a second. Got this titanium backspacer. Beautiful curve, beautiful finish, just very flush, very smooth. Feels really, really good. And then you've got that flipper tab with a little bit of jimping on there, and that is just enough to give you a little bit of traction to do what you got to do. I would say without the jimping and a crisp detent like the way this one has, your finger might slip off of there. So I'm glad they did put a little bit of jimping on there. And it's also curved a little bit. It's just a very, very slight kind of upsweep there. So it's very satisfying, very comfortable to deploy. You can see we've got this big old pivot on there, which looks cool. And it is not captive, so you've got tooling on both sides. The pivot is T8. Unfortunately, the body screws are T6 and the clip is T6. The steel insert for the lock bar is also T6. So that's kind of annoying, especially on a $250 knife. I've said it over and over and over again. Just use T8s everywhere, please. It just makes it just, one tool, just easier. And T6s, although these are, the hardware is kind of deep, which is nice, T6s just generally have a higher propensity of stripping out. So give me some T8s and problem solved. So looking more at the fit and finish here, we've got this shield on both sides in the carbon fiber inlay. So an inlay in an inlay. And it is not 100% flush, but it is very smooth. You can definitely feel it with your fingernail. Not that that really matters, but if you're interested in that kind of thing, it's not 100% flush, but it looks pretty damn cool. Speaking of looking pretty damn cool, you've got these milling marks up here, which give it a very nice, extra kind of little pop on an otherwise, plain bead blasted titanium handle. And these, let's talk about this in this carbon fiber inlay real quick. When I first saw this, I thought these inlays looked bad. The pictures and the videos that I saw, it just looked goofy. But having it in person, it definitely looks 100% better in person than it does on camera. You can see you've got a little bit of the carbon fiber sheen there. And that was kind of the concern. It's like, well, where's the carbon fiber? It looks like just a bunch of colored voids. Well, that may be, but it does actually look good. It doesn't translate well on video or in pictures, in my opinion, but in person, especially in the sun, it does look really cool. And I thought I wasn't going to like it at all. And surprisingly, I actually do like it. And it is a really cool material. Some people are calling it fake fat carbon or Chinese fat carbon or whatever, and that may be, but I don't think that means it's cheap, or anything like that. Well, it may be cheaper than fat carbon, but what I mean by cheap is, like junk. That's what I thought it would be, and it actually looks pretty cool in person. So, on to the blade. This guy is a wicked little S90V blade, and it's a drop point, and it's got a beautiful satin finish on it. You see those vertical grind lines, and then we've got horizontal grind lines on the top there. And this guy's got very little belly up there, mostly flat. And so this is a very, very neutral design. You know, this is going to get you, you know, optimal performance in, you know, pretty much all EDC tasks, whatever that may be. So with S90V, you're going to get a lot of edge life. S90V is also very corrosion resistant, so that's not an issue. The only problem I have with this blade has actually nothing to do with the steel at all. It's actually the way this plunge grind is in terms of sharpening. And man, my camera is just not focusing, but you can kind of see that it's basically where the edge terminates is right at the plunge grind. So after, you know, a sharpening or two, you're going to start creeping up. Let me see if I can actually try zooming here. There we go. Yeah, there you go. So it's going to start creeping up onto that plunge grind. You'll get what people call a smile, where you'll start to see that shiny part from the edge starts to creep up a little bit, and that's due to that thickness behind the edge there. Another thing that practically makes it just really annoying is when you're sharpening, you've got to be really careful not to, you know, basically mar this whole area up, whether you're doing it by hand or if you're using fixed angle system. You've either got to, you know, take the handles off and tape that area up, or just tape this area up, you know, and then sharpen it. But either way, the point is the same. You got to be really careful not to just muck all that stuff up. Now, you can probably, with the way this guy's designed, you can add a choil there if you want to. But I don't think most people are going to do that. So this is something that I would say would be a seldom kind of user. I wouldn't be afraid to use it, but like I said before, this would be more of a gentleman kind of knife for me, something that's just really sharp looking and can, you know, definitely do some work. But when you have this in your pocket, you're not really intending on doing a lot of cutting. This just happened to, you know, be what, you know, the tool that you have in your pocket in case you need to cut something. So all that being said, the ergonomics are pretty good. You can use this flipper tab to grab on there, but there's no guard, so you got to be really careful doing stuff like that, because that puts your finger right up on the edge. Coming back to the handle here, like I said, it's a little bit small, but it definitely feels really good in hand with all the curves and, you know, softened edges and everything. It does feel really, really good when you're holding it. And other than that, it's just a really fun, really flicky little knife that looks cool. So is it worth $249? I think, you know, if you are into these designs and you want something on the premium side, sure, yeah. But if you're just looking for, you know, a basic EDC knife, you can probably find something from, you know, like Tucson or something that's got, you know, very similar materials, fit and finish and whatnot, for a, you know, a fraction of the price. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So not a bad knife. I think it's a very good knife, if I'm honest. I don't know if I would buy this, to be really honest. If anything, this just made me want the premium version of the Kubi Royal. I really, really like this knife, and the only thing that has kept me from getting the premium version of the Royal is actually the blade. I wish they would have this blade on the premium version of the Royal, because with the premium version of the Royal, you have M390, which is fine, but it's bead blasted. I just don't like bead blasted blades. I've had M390 that was bead blasted that rusted, and I've had 14C28 and bead blasted steel that stained. Like, I'm just not a fan of it. I'd rather have satin and get it all scratched up. So yeah, if they had now, obviously, they're different companies, right? Tuya and Kubi is producing these. But if Kubi did what Tuya did here, man, I would jump all over that thing, because I love CM designs. I love the Royal. And maybe, I guess, another way to say what I'm saying is maybe it would be cool to see a budget version of this knife. Because there are some people, I imagine, who would really like this design, but don't want to spend $250 on a knife. They would rather spend something closer to the Kubi Royal range. This guy was like 30 something dollars. And, you know, for a design that is pretty neutral, you know, but still good looking, this would be great to go ahead and add to your collection. And if you don't want to spend $250, if they just did a budget version of it, that would absolutely solve that problem. So other than that, guys, I want to say thanks again for checking out the video, and I really hope you enjoy the content. Leave me a like and a comment, subscribe if you're not already, and have a fantastic day. God bless you guys. See ya.